Well, this is something I never expected happening. Remember someone once said in life, we don't always get what we want, and instead, we get what we need. Who knew Miami was exactly what I needed? I had the chance to fly to the US of A for the very first time, accompanied by my dearest sister Maya, who is a dream travel companion. It's both our first time in America. I know, it took so long for us to get here. And there were a few times in Miami when we were both like, how did we get here? Is this for real? I mean, this is the Miami, a city I've only seen in films, TV, music videos, and basically just on screen. But now, we got to visit it for real. And for my first encounter with the United States, I landed here in the Sunshine State in a city where it doesn't do subtle. A city of skyscrapers and yacht clubs, palm trees and art deco buildings, sunshine and music, beaches and bodies, neon-soaked movie sets, and the American dream. Are you in the mood for Miami yet? Strap yourself in, and this video will get you there. Soaking in the colors and contradictions in a city where Latin culture meets US ambition. Especially if it's your first time, this video will guide you what to see, do, and experience in Miami without getting overwhelmed. Soaking up this sun-kissed city and helping you scratch beneath the surface. See beyond the really good lighting, and understand why this city truly gives no apologies. We had 4 full days in Miami, and honestly it was plenty of time to see and do a lot of things. And it all started here in South Beach, where we stayed and based ourselves in. We chose South Beach because we wanted to be surrounded by palm trees, art deco buildings, the largest collection of art deco architecture in the world by the way, and to be really close to the world-renowned and famous Miami Beach.
Cheers!
We checked into our Havana-inspired hotel, grabbed our first cocktail. To Miami!
Cheers to Miami, Jack!
We're gonna do this so many times.
First in the US!
Miami! Then went for dinner, strolled around, and called it a night because jet lag is truly for real. On our first full day in Miami, we decided to go for a full city tour, as for a city as big and daunting as this, it's preferable to get a good intro to the neighborhoods and districts with a local guide before diving into the place ourselves. For $2 a ticket, we took a bus from South Beach to downtown and headed to Bayside Marketplace, where our meeting point is located. We were gifted with such dazzling weather that morning and had much time to spare, so we explored this shopping and entertainment complex, full of shops, restaurants and bars, which we imagined would be heaving later in the afternoon or evening. We enjoyed walking around this place, especially the waterfront with the marina, where yachts are moored and where boat tours come and go. With downtown Miami skyscrapers rising behind and the Biscayne Bay in front of us, this felt like Miami flexing a little. This waterfront is a must visit. Have a meal here, sit by the water, and just let Miami take over. It was then time for our tour, and before we knew it, we went on a half-day semi-private city tour as we rolled in our van, going for sightseeing across the city. A tour that's designed for first-timers who want to see Miami in one go. What's more, we had an expert local guide who gave us an informative tour of Miami's most iconic neighborhoods. First stop, back in Art Deco beach-loving, palm tree-lined South Beach, where we rolled down Ocean Drive to see some of Miami's famous and colorful buildings, including Montana's or the Colony Hotel, where the 1983 Scarface was filmed, and a stop at the late Gianni Versace's former mansion, now a luxury boutique hotel, Villa Casa Casorina. Speaking of mansions, next up we got direct access to Miami's luxurious Star Island, a millionaire's row of houses inside a gated man-made island in Biscayne Bay, built in the 1920s during Florida's land boom. As we're told, it's home to some of the most expensive private residences in the United States, the likes of Gloria Estefan, Shaquille O'Neal, Jennifer Lopez, and something Diddy all own properties here, or even thrown a party or two at some point. Basically, new money strutted out on lavish gates and dramatic driveways, canopied on Floridian surrealism and excess. Once we left the island, the heavens literally cried, pouring down with rain. Our next stop is definitely more grounded, giving us a dose of Miami realism. Away from the beaches and finance is this electric neighborhood called Little Havana, a slice of Cuba right here in Miami. They say if you want to understand Miami, you come here in this neighborhood, built not as a theme or curation, but out of necessity. Believe me, not even the splatter of rain stopped us from truly soaking in the cultural context of this place. Little Havana tour in the rain, you can't beat it. What's up, Sunshine State? Where's the sun? We've learned that Cuban exiles from the 1959 Cuban Revolution who came here in Miami brought their language, their passion, their music, coffee, rituals, and their grief, and rebuilt their version of home. You feel it immediately as you walk along Calle Ocho, where locals play dominoes in parks. The smell of tobacco leaves waft and cigars are made by hand in real little cigar factory and shops. Where Cuban coffee feels like an economy in itself, a social currency, in fact. We didn't just have one, but two cafecitos, this Cuban-style espresso shot tinged with sweetness. Both Maya and I also indulge in Cuban empanadas, this one stuffed with shredded beef, olives and raisins, and loved every bite of it. Wow, this is really delicious. Oh, good. Let's show you this. It's delicious.
I like this.
This is a refuge in the rain, eating empanadas in Little Havana. I mean, thank God for Fanai. After this brief visit at Little Havana, we hopped into Key Biscayne with a frankly show-stopping view of the Miami skyline that most people don't get to see, with our guide letting us all take a moment and take plenty of photos. Our last stop in this tour is Wynwood Walls, Miami's industrial corner turned outdoor art complex, home to some of the biggest murals I've ever seen. Even in a cloudy afternoon, this place pops. Imagine this in the sunshine. Some of the world's respected muralists were invited here and were given blank walls as canvas. The result is a whole neighborhood of street art that will make you stop mid-walk and just gaze. This is definitely Miami's most creative neighborhood. By mid-afternoon, our tour ended and truly appreciated this VIP-style hop-on hop-off tour of Miami that took us across 5 sites in a van that only took 13 people max and gave us the highlights of Miami without breaking a sweat. If you go to Miami, book this exact tour, you can find the link in the description below. They say Miami's a bust for your wallet. Well, not if you know how to move around for free. So here's a tip from Miami. You can get something called Mover, which is basically free if you're down to there around Brickell Center. It's called the Metromover. This elevated light rail transport that loops around a few districts moves you around without spending a dime. Who doesn't love zero-cost mobility? Plus, it gives you an elevated perspective of the city, especially at the Mover's rear end with a front-seat view of Miami. If South Beach is spectacle and Little Havana is soul, Brickell is ambition. This is Miami's financial heart, sometimes called the Manhattan of the South. And when you stand there looking at the glass towers, you understand why. Banks, law firms, global companies, luxury condos, stacked sky high. It's vertical, polished, and unapologetically modern. It's steel and glass, the power meeting, deal closing, investment fund Miami. You want to go shopping? This is where you go. If anything, the Saks Fifth Avenue should be the clue. But all we really wanted to do for the rest of the day and evening was to go back to the neighborhood that captured us both, to Little Havana, to get more doses of Latin soul, maybe some salsa music, definitely cocktails, and authentic Cuban food. And boy, does his neighborhood deliver. We went to Ball and Chain for live music, and with 3 mojitos in, our hips are already shaking. For dinner, we went to Old Havana Cafe for authentic Cuban food, beans, steak and tamales, and even more mojitos and mango daiquiris. We loved the vibe of this part of the town, the music just floating out into the streets, wrapping up such a great first full day in Miami. While our first day in Miami was about getting to know the city, our second day was all about diving straight to the Floridian swamp. Yep, I never considered doing this until now. Going crocodile hunting in the Everglades because, you know, while in Florida, might as well meet the gators. The Everglades Natural Park is about an hour outside Miami, and we booked a tour to do this, which includes a round-trip bus ride, which picks us up in South Beach. I've heard about the Everglades, but haven't even dreamed about going. But guess what? I'm so glad we did. We took an airboat ride around what is essentially less of a swamp than a slow-flowing river. With hundreds of channels, a vast tropical wilderness that's actually one of the most unique ecosystems on the planet, currently protected as a UNESCO World Heritage Site. Being here feels prehistoric. We were propelled by an airboat, skimming across the water with roaring propeller behind us. It's dramatic, yes, a little theatrical, but step away from the engine noise and this place will remind you this is wild Florida, eons away from skyscraper Miami. And then there's the wildlife. Alligators sunning themselves like they own the place. We saw not just one or two, but 7 alligators in the wild. Birds and myriad other avian species all live within the mangrove forest that twists out of the water. This feels raw and unedited, like nature never signed a contract with urban development. Afterwards, as if we haven't had enough alligators, we were bemused by a crocodile show with a real crocodile ranger and conservationist trying to wrestle with a real live crocodile. Let's just say I was simply relieved all human limbs were left intact and no crocodile carnage took place. Otherwise, this would have been a shit show. Back in Miami, we felt absolutely peckish after our crocodile trip, and we decided to go for a slice of classic Americana. At a railroad-style diner on 11th Street South Beach called 11th Street Diner. We really loved it here, truth be told. It's all about juicy American dining at its most unashamed. We started with a coconut milkshake that's seriously one for the ages. What's the verdict?
That is very creamy.
Yeah?
I like it.
That's actually really good. Then Maya went for a seafood bucket that could feed a family of 5, and I went for a ginormous pile-up American burger that could end global starvation. Exaggeration aside, this burger was amazing.
Alright, let's dig into this incredible pile-up burger. Which is as American as it can get.
This is so big, it's huge. Look at this. That's pretty good. This is an amazing burger. America, you win. Burger, we've got it. We got it covered. After the diner, we spent the whole afternoon digesting at Miami Beach. Really the perfect place to digest with nothing but sun, sand, and the sea. Miami! That's Miami Beach truly fulfilling its promise. And when it's your first time in Miami Beach, you take the dip. The water was truly surprisingly warm. I mean, this is February, guys. While the rest of the US and Europe are currently cloaked in winter, there I was splashing in the Floridian Sea. And then by sundown, Miami transforms into something else. Those Miami Beach colors soften. The day winds down and the entire beach becomes quieter, which makes for a perfect walk in the sunset. Seriously though, for something as simple as a walk on this beach during sunset, this was one of the best and most relaxing times we've had in our entire Miami trip. We walked back to Ocean Drive to capture more of those sunset colors in South Beach, those palm trees truly making the entire place look even more tropical. And of course, a little bit more sightseeing.
Scarface, guys. There. Tony Montana. Right over there, sitting in the car. Clearly not Al Pacino, but a mannequin.
And that wraps up a truly wonderful second day in Miami, just enjoying the vibe of the neon-soaked nighttime that South Beach is known for. Here's the thing, it took me 3 days on this trip to admit it. I was really enjoying South Beach. That morning, I woke up early, stepped out of my hotel, walked 2 blocks, and just like that, I was in Ocean Drive. This is the part of Miami that I hear people raving about. Now, I truly get it. Just walking along the promenade, passing along beach gyms, the absolute perk of staying here in South Beach is getting that access to all these places. This promenade alone makes you want to pump endorphins into your system, get your blood flowing, and makes you want to be kind to your health. I mean, what an amazing place to go for a run, or even just for a walk, whatever suits your pace. A few times I found myself slowing down and stopping and just appreciating this part of Miami, especially these little sandy paths to the beach, which are just my favorite, with the ocean just right there and so easy to get to. I carried on, headed to South Pointe Park, and ultimately the South Pointe Pier, right at the southern tip of Miami Beach. This is where the Atlantic Ocean meets Government Cut, the main shipping channel into the port of Miami. This is one of the best viewpoints in Miami, I must admit. You see people here walking, running, surfing, even fishing. And there I was, just taking it all in. The South Beach really got to me. Morning walks that turned into runs, runs that turned into slow strolls, quick dips in the ocean that somehow became full beach afternoons. We kept coming back to it, like the day wasn't complete without seeing that strip of sand and water at least once. And on days like this, clear skies, that soft February sun, the breeze that takes the edge of the heat, this is why people come to Miami. Not just for the beach, but for how easy it feels to live around it. The light, the energy, the way it pulls you outside without trying too hard. And by the end of it, South Beach felt like it made the trip truly worth it. And you know what's worth it? A visit to perhaps the most famous building in Ocean Drive, the former Versace mansion, which is now Villa Casa Casuarina, a mansion that's actually around a lot longer than Versace. Inside is an Italian-Mediterranean restaurant, Gianni's, and we booked it for lunch, partly out of curiosity and partly because how often you get to eat inside a place like this. This place was actually built in the 1930s, modeled after a Spanish Alcazar, and it became the home of famed fashion designer Gianni Versace in 1992, where he lived, and then, of course, the part where everyone knows but no one really talks about for long, where he died in 1997, right in front of the steps. Though what he did in his house is what people like us come to see. The restaurant is set right inside a villa, sat next to that iconic mosaic pool, and in rooms that are very theatrical, very dramatic, and very Versace. We had classic Italian fare such as the parmigiana, Mediterranean branzino, and pasta with Floridian lobster. This was kind of a treat, but honestly, it's the atmosphere that makes it. This used to be someone's private home, and now we get to have lunch in it. They even remembered my birthday, so I admit, this is not something you do every day. It's one of those decisions that you go, while in Miami, why not? From the drama of the Versace mansion, we went to somewhere even more lavish. A stark reminder that not everything in Miami is new. Hidden along the Biscayne Bay, amongst the lush canopies of Coconut Grove, there lies an old-world Miami that eludes most non-discerning first-time visitors. This is the Vizcaya Museum and Gardens, and coming here feels like you've stepped into an old European beauty, an Italian Renaissance revival villa by the sea. Miami's skyline is still in the backdrop, but stepping here truly feels like you're worlds away from the Miami that we know. This Gilded Age mansion, Villa Vizcaya, rose in the early 20th century from the mangrove swamps of Florida, thanks to the wealthy industrialist James Deering, who wanted a winter retreat here meticulously modeled after European ideals. And what he created wasn't just any retreat, but essentially one of America's most ambitious and greatest private residences ever built in the country. Deering's death, the Great Depression, and Florida's hurricanes would have sunk this place to vanish in time. But thanks to the Miami-Dade County and a fierce group of preservationists, this place was saved and has become a public institution, a fascinating glimpse into the cultural heritage that's deeply embedded in the story of Miami. If the interior was built to impress, wait till you step outside. There's a waterfront that feels almost surreal, like a scene from an old Hollywood film. There's the iconic stone barge sitting just off the shore, built as a kind of decorative breakwater, like a stage placed between land and the sea. But Vizcaya's real masterpiece is the former gardens, 10 acres of landscape dream turned reality. Evoking European design adapted to Florida's subtropical climate. Walking around in these vast gardens make you realize Vizcaya's balance between theatricality and a kind of faded grandeur. a balance that really is part of its charm. The garden one is over, and both of us spent a great amount of time walking and exploring every corner possible, making us feel like we just walked into the set of Great Expectations. The atmosphere here had us absolutely transfixed. What I found interesting is that Vizcaya wasn't built to show off wealth in the way Miami often does today. It was built to escape, to create a world within the world, and walking through it, you feel that. For a couple of hours, Miami isn't about beaches, nightlife, or skyline. Vizcaya showed us the idea that even in a young city, someone tried to build something timeless. But Miami wasn't done with us yet. Just a short ride from Vizcaya, still within the lush canopy of Coconut Grove, we found ourselves wandering into what felt like one of Miami's best neighborhoods. Coconut Grove is the oldest continuously inhabited neighborhood in the city, and yet somehow felt so strikingly modern, so plush and upscale. We got here just in time for sunset, and it truly felt like Miami took a deep breath and just exhaled. Banyan trees draping over pavements, boutique shops and nice-looking restaurants everywhere. The kind of neighborhood where it makes you want to live in it. And after days of airboats and art decos and alligators and mojitos and mansions, these felt like exactly the right gear to end on. Coconut Grove just glowing by itself. As the sky turned dark, we found a little pizza place. Nothing fancy, nothing that needed a performance or a story. We just sat down, ordered a really good pizza, and that was it. That was our last meal in Miami. Something grounded and real. Sometimes the most memorable way to end a trip isn't a grand finale. No fireworks, no final cocktail at a rooftop bar with a view, just a good pizza in a neighborhood that surprised you. We did not expect Coconut Grove to surprise us. But then again, we did not expect a lot of things about Miami. And that, I think, is exactly the point. I came to Miami not really knowing what to expect. I'd seen the spectacle, the neon, the beach, the bodies, the heat, the color, the version of Miami that's known for excess and sunshine and a very particular kind of American dream. Miami doesn't hide any of those, and it doesn't apologize for those either. But what I did not expect was everything else. I did not expect to feel genuinely impressed by the gardens of Vizcaya. I did not expect Little Havana to hit me the way it really did. That sense of an entire people rebuilding the world from grief and love and really good coffee and damn good Latin music. I didn't expect to feel that free, that light, just walking and running along South Beach in the early morning with the sun up and the ocean just right there. I did not expect Coconut Grove to quietly endoom the end of it all. Before this trip, we didn't even dream of going to the swamps to see some actual living crocodiles. And yet, we really did. Because here's what Miami really is. Underneath all the glamour and the gloss and the genuinely excellent lighting, it's a city built by people who arrived with almost nothing and decided to build something extraordinary anyway. Industrialists and exiles, artists and architects, dreamers of every kind, they all built something here, something that's still very much alive. And both my sister and I, on our very first trip to America, somehow stumbled into all of it. 3 full days, 5 neighborhoods, 1 very large burger, maybe a few too many mojitos, lots of walks, lots of beach and sunshine, a great day at the Everglades and Crocodiles. It felt like Miami gave us more than what we needed. An experience of Miami so good that it makes me want to go back. Isn't that what great destinations do? A place that makes you want to return to just before you even leave it. But wait. The Miami adventure does not stop here. We are taking it to the next level aboard the brand new MSC World America, one of the biggest and newest cruise ships in the world, sailing from Miami and around the Caribbean. Stay tuned for the next In the Mood for Life episode. Subscribe to the channel if you still haven't, because you won't want to miss this one.